Hey, everybody, this is Scoots, Drew Scooter from Sleeping the Podcast. If you're a casual listener, you don't listen to the show, or you're only temporary listening to the show, this isn't super important. Um, so, yeah, but one thing is, we are 1/20th of the way of our goal, which is unfortunately July, to get to 1,500 super listeners. But we did hit our 1/20th of the goal of 1,500 people that benefit the most from the podcast, supporting it back. And again, the questions to ask yourself are, uh, do you listen to Sleep With Me on a regular basis? Does it make your life better? And does it have any value to you, right? Are you willing to support the show because it's valuable to you financially, or if you can't afford to support the show by putting in some effort and referring people to the podcast? So yeah, we're trying to get there. I'll probably have to do some other kind of asks on the podcast to generate support. But the thing is, I looked through the other times we've been in this, and even I've been listening and watching the videos I've been putting out for the past couple of years, kind of trying to drum up support because I knew things were headed this way. We were becoming too dependent on advertising and not listener support to pay our bills. And I knew that at some point that would go away, where listener support tends to move slowly. Ads can go and come pretty fast. And that's what we're seeing right now. Not just with Sleep With Me, all of podcasting, except for super big podcasts. And maybe even them, I don't know. So I wanted to talk about it. This will be a longer video, only, 4 minutes I have till I got to move on to my next task. Maybe I'll go longer. So this is for like communities of Sleep With Me, right? Like this video I'll be putting out. I don't think I'll put it out in like our general social media. So I want to talk about a couple things. One, I want to thank everybody that helped me with that kind of survey that we're going to add on to sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. There was some good proofreading feedback. Again, I wasn't looking for it to make it perfect, but the people that pointed out a couple confusing things or repetitive things was helpful. And it was also helpful because some people that are fans of the show, the no thank you fans that were kind of filled it out. And that really was helpful for me because it kind of, we'll go into this longer form topic that I may talk about fear, right? But that those people's minds are not going to be changed. Like that's what it's clear. And me trying to change their minds probably represents something else going on inside of me, which is probably normal for every human being. But yeah. So that, and then I also want to thank the people who filled out the survey because I found one other. I've been talking about looking under these rocks, right? And that's about the super listener thing. Like the only way we're going to keep the show going is if people that benefit the most from the show support it back. And not because of generosity, but because this podcast is valuable to them. I mean, that could be a secondary motivation, and feeling good and feeling generous is an important thing. And it's kind of a part of the supporting show. But the main thing it's going to come down to is like, is the podcast valuable or not? Right. Because the biggest resistance is like the people that are just stuck. Like, and that's like the thing about the no thank you pages, like those people won't be moved. And then I'll talk about this new rock I found to look under. And the people that sign up right away or that know, oh yeah, it's 100% valuable to me. Like, or they're in the podcast ecosystem. So they kind of know what it takes to make a show and all that, they're going to sign up right away. But it's the people in the middle that are just kind of stuck and figuring out there's 20,000 of those people that listen to the podcast on a regular basis. And we just have to impact 1,500 of them and get the message to them. And then everybody benefits, right? So one new rock I found through that survey and other surveys we've done is like that people are way more likely to support the show that are new listeners. And what I mean new listeners is less than a year. So people that have been listening for a month to 11 months are way, way, way more likely to support the show and then probably stay supporting the show as long as it makes their life better. Because again, you don't have to support the show forever, only as long as it's valuable to you. But that survey and a couple other things I looked at revealed that people that have listened over a year that didn't start supporting the show, that seems like, is that unmovable? I don't know. But most of the people that are resistant supporting the show, that are super listeners, that maybe aren't on that far end of never supporting the show, that's a new group I didn't know existed actually. Like I guess I always thought like, oh, if you listen to a show for over a year, if you listen for 2 years, like supporting it is easy. And this isn't a critical thing. It's knowledge I didn't have, which is like, oh, um, whatever. Like once you get into that idea and your own idea of the show coming out, and your own relationship for the show, again, just like everything else in our lives, it doesn't have to do with Sleep With Me. Change and what is it? Entropy rule. Like changing things is going to. Sorry, this is going to ding one more time to let me know to move on. Oh, I'll just pause it. But change is really hard. Even small changes like supporting a podcast that makes your life incredibly better. And so that change is incredibly harder the longer people listen to Sleep With Me, even if they're not in disagreement with like again, the no thank you pages for people that are in disagreement and their minds won't be changed or have a caveat or something else that I just can't deliver on because my job is to deliver the podcast. Like that's all I can do the way we currently make the podcast, right? Like I can't change those things because again, I can't debate it with people and try to convince people, hey, this, and this. It just comes down to those simple things. But it's like interesting. I just had no idea that yeah, like once you hit a year, if you don't support the show, and each year it becomes less and less likely, even if you're in agreement about all those other things, which makes total sense. Again, I'm not criticizing anybody that does it, but again, this is something I had no idea. And it's like, okay, is there 300 of those people I can get to support the show? Because those are the groups, right? Like this whole thing is going to be about the all night listeners. If we don't get 500 all night listeners to support the show, probably the show ain't going to make it. Like, or 15 out of 1,500 all night listeners to support the show. And then people that fall asleep fast. If we don't get people that fall asleep fast, whatever their listening pattern is, that have listened for longer than 6 months to support the show, those are the two biggest groups that if we can't get those people, those are probably the biggest groups of super listeners. And then people that listen 4 or 5 nights a week, 7 nights a week. But yeah, those are the 3 biggest groups. There probably is another group or 2 I'm thinking of, but this is a new group of like people have been listening over a year. I did think of that as a group, but then I didn't realize that there's a huge difference between someone that's listened for 6 months to like a year and a half or 2 years, and then someone that's listened for 2 to 9 years. Maybe those are 2 separate groups, maybe. So anyway, great news. And again, if you're watching this video and you can't afford to support the show, there are ways to support it. I talk about it on the show all the time and in these videos all the time. The best way to support the show is on Sleep With Me Plus, if those questions remain true for you. And again, if you're totally resistant to the stuff and you're a super fan or you're a super listener, again, and you need to vent, we're working on that with this survey to kind of go along with the people that the show's been a no thank you for, because I have to focus. Like my goal is to keep making the show into the future, right? Like, and I can't focus. I can't get dragged down by my own internal critic or external critics, or, have those 2 things become a sympathetic vibration that then distracts me from my goal. And actually, this is a lesson I learned that Julie C. and a lot of other people let me know when I first started the Patreon and trying to get hey, this is funny. Now it's a super long video, but that when I first started the Patreon, right, I had a full-time job and I was funding any bills for the podcast with I didn't make a lot of money either. Like I made substance for the Bay Area. All my money would go out at the end of the month, but I had, some money set aside for entertainment. That's what I funded the podcast with. Right. And mostly hard work of working during my lunch, on the way to and from work, and then all of my spare time. But anyway, and then I realized I couldn't keep doing this, but I wanted to keep making the show. So we started our Patreon, right? So we could pay an editor. Posty was the first person that got paid on the show. It was years until I got paid, but like see, I'm getting into the debate with people already. Like, see, it's good practice. But so, and this is what happened back then too. So I worked with Patreon. Well, now we do Sleep With Me Plus, but it's just a membership program, right? And I studied everything I could. I talked to other people. I looked at trends. I looked at what worked and what didn't work. came up with a plan, very specific plan. And then either right when we launched or right after it, people had strong feelings, even though the show was way, way, way smaller back then. And they lashed out. I don't know what other term to use, but they lashed out, and I got afraid. And I guess in a sense, a self-obsessed fear or a distracting fear of like, and again, this is what it's going to come down to. I'll make another video about the fears, but it's really going to come down to my fears of that, of like having people not be nice to me, having people say things to me that I'm afraid of, right? Of that's a normal fear, right? And so that fear, right, of like taking harsh criticism or people saying whatever they say, doesn't matter. So that's the fear that I gave into back then. And then I started this, all the statistics proved this out wrong. But I got it in my head that if I could get 10% of the audience to support the show at $1, I never did the math about how much credit card fees are and how much like dollar or even $2 pledges. Most of that money goes to the bank and then to the platform. But also that there's no way you're going to get 10% of your audience ever to support the show, especially your general audience. But I convinced myself based on fear only, not on any of the facts, not on anything else. And Julie C and a couple other listeners, after I was doing that for a while, and it kind of impacted years of the podcast funding and my whatever, like it was a huge, huge error. And I stuck with it for a long time. I mean, months maybe. Instead of, and Julie C and other people said, isn't the podcast valuable to you? And I'm not saying this is what they said, but the gist of it was, are you sure your self-esteem or it was really fear, I guess, and self-esteem aren't getting in the way of this? Because the podcast is certainly worth more than $1 to me. And that's what it's going to come down to now. Like, is my fear of that kind of stuff larger than my fear of like, we just don't make it. We really try hard and we just don't make it. Of like really asking people, is this podcast valuable to you or not? And like, I mean, that's a fear for sure for me. I don't want to stop making this podcast. I've heard from hundreds of thousands of stories of people that it's impacted, people that support the show, people that can't support the show, all of it. Like, so which fear is going to be greater, right? My fear of not making it, or like whatever. There are emotional fears like there, like like not external and internal fears, right? I'm not worried about my well-being financially, like because I could just like sell the podcast name or something like. So it's not about those fears. I mean, probably on some animal level, of course, there's those kind of fears, like but like it's like. I like making the show and I know people benefit from it, and it's really hard to ask, right? And that because there's normal fears, like just like asking someone out or asking someone for something, like you have emotions about when people say no, but it's like, which fear am I going to choose? And right now I'm trying to choose that fear of like, hey, we'll make it. I mean, we made it during the pandemic. I've been looking at the numbers over and over again and going over stuff. And there was one or two other times we made it. And I'm trying to review that stuff of like, hey, how did that work? Or what did we say to get there? Because yeah, I'm looking at it right here. This is our goal. Our goals are the same as they were July 2021, August 2021, to June 2022. That's when like we weren't leaning on the advertising so heavily that any changes in the ad market would mean not good things. And I think we'll get there. Like, I want to have hope, and I'm trying to focus the message or the future messages on those groups that benefit most from the podcast and being a part of something special. But again, my fear creeps in all the time, and it impacts this. And the good thing is, it's not a good thing that I'm not alone. Like, I can see this. I just saw it 2 days ago. Someone else I know from a podcast, they were getting attacked and they were responding like, hey, can't you see me? That was a basic thing. Like, this person's like, how dare you I can do it, I guess, because it's externally, but like, how dare you ask for, I'm so sick of you asking for support on your show, blah, all this stuff about your medical and this. And the person was like, can't you see me? The creator, please just see me. Can't you see this is what my life is? And I can't reach out to that person and say that's pointless argument. But I think this survey, and I've known it for years, like those arguments kind of are pointless, right? And maybe we got to funnel those people again. If you're feeling that way, it impacts me, but it's valid for you, right? And that's kind of confused. It's a confusing. This is another way, could be rebellious. And if you're feeling that way, just once we get that survey up and running and the no thank you page up and running, just use that. Like, and then we both win. Like, you can have whatever your outrage and funnel it somewhere, and then maybe find even if you need another sleep podcast, find another sleep podcast, and I can keep trying to make my show that benefits all these people and that I love and I love making and that I've made through the hardest times in my life. Right? Like those of you that listen know, and I got other stuff coming up. So it's like, it brings meaning to my life. So I don't want to stop making the show. And like I've kind of said in other videos, like, I don't know, it comes down to those things. I guess I didn't realize this would be so long, but I do have a lot of other sleep podcast work to do. So thanks, everybody.